I'm a piece of this enormous collaborative team. And one of the most remarkable parts of the team in Imagineering are the ride engineers. Because Walt was a visionary with technology from the very beginning, and that applied to the parks as well. The very first tube roller coaster, which I didn't understand until I started working with Imagineering, was the Matterhorn. And basically, it meant that rather than square rails, which force very long turn radius, a tube roller coaster meant that you could have really tight turns, and the Matterhorn invented that. It's now ubiquitous. I mean, you can't go to a major attraction park without seeing tube coasters. That's what they all are. Ride engineering is still innovative in that way at Imagineering because we want to use the ride to help express the story. Landscaping. Landscaping in Imagineering is one of the things that blew me away when I realized that the landscape designers, the horticulturists, are storytellers. They don't just go and buy a tree. For Cars Land, I'll get the number wrong. I think we're buying between 500 and 1,000 full-size tree and 10 to 15,000 understory plants. And every one of those trees, every single one was specifically selected by the landscape designer. Not, oh, I need a pine. It's, I want a pine that has some twist and personality, and it's individually picked to help tell the story of the place that we're creating. The same thing is true with ride engineering. The ride engineers also go and look at things and say, all right, what is it, you as the show designers, what is it the experience you want to convey? What does the ride system need to do? Often some of the ride engineers are also constantly developing new ideas and pitching those and saying, here's a new thing we think we could try and do. See if that fits into any of the ideas that you guys are developing. And so there's this great back and forth between concept designers and the ride engineers to keep pushing that whole technology and innovation forward. One of the things that John Lasseter has always believed in the making of the films at Pixar, we're not building them for an opening weekend. We're not building them for an opening summer. We're trying to build films that are such rich, deep experiences with characters that are so believable, and an emotional experience that feels true, so that we're going to watch them in a year, in 10 years, hopefully decades from now, you'll still be able to pick up one of our films and watch it, you know, on your hyper holographic display, and still feel a connection and still be moved by those stories. And that same philosophy applies to the theme park attractions. I mean, you look at the greatest attractions of the Haunted Mansion, opened in the mid-60s, or 2011, you know. So to build things that last 50 years, it's like, wow, that's a pretty high bar. But it's really the way we think about the attractions is we're not building something for an opening summer. And we also know that if we're successful, there will be repeat viewings by the same audience year after year, some of the diehard fans week after week. And so you really have to put in layers. I mean, it's a lot of what we do in the filmmaking as well. You want to make an experience that's deep enough and rich enough that you can experience it once and feel satisfied, but the repeat viewings, the repeat experience should actually reveal more layers of depth and nuance and things and details that you didn't even notice the first time. You know, making films is crazy hard. Making a great film. I mean, this is the thing. We can all go out and watch lots of movies right now in the theaters, and most films are mediocre to bad. I mean, and it's not because people aren't trying hard. It's just really, really hard to make a great movie, to make all those components come together and on a deadline and on a budget. And so when we're making films at Pixar, we're just constantly internally beating up our films going, you know, that part's working, but this part's not. How do we make it better? Because you just have to focus on the content of the film, on the characters, the story, and the emotion. You can't be going, would it make a good ride, or is there a good merchandise product? I mean, it's hard enough to make a film. If you tried to bring in those other considerations, you would just fail. And so there's just really that laser focus when we're making the films, make a great movie. And we're changing our films until the last possible second. You know, we like to say we don't finish films that just get ripped out of the hands of the directors and put in the theaters. So when we start on an attraction, I've learned that as hard as we try at Pixar to make a great movie, if we even succeed at that and audiences embrace the film, it's still impossible to predict what about that movie is going to resonate. What is the character that's going to break out, that's going to touch people? What is the moment in the film that is going to be, you know, the instant repeat? I mean, Dory speaking whale, which was always funny, we thought, oh, that's a good little moment, just became this kind of universal thing. Like, you just have to start speaking whale, and people know you're talking about that moment in that film. So you just don't know. So when we finished Finding Nemo, the film's great. Oh, there's this nice little character, Crush, in it. And then Imagineering said, you know, we'd like to build a whole attraction around Crush. We're like, well, I could see that because he connected with audiences in a way that I don't think any of us predicted. There's a reason, if you look at the DVD cover for Finding Nemo, it's mostly a picture of Crush with Marlin and Dory next to him. I mean, it just somehow really rang out. So You have to watch a film, and you have to watch an audience watching a film to begin to say, well, what's the experience? If I'm going to take a feature-length film and distill it into a 4.5-minute attraction, what is it that I want to bring back to life? What is the experience? What is it I'm going to touch on? What is it that really is going to mean something to people?